Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for letting me speak with you today. I'm Nicholas Schiff. I'm a professor at the Medical College. I'm going to introduce Re-EmergeDBS, which is a deep brain stimulation company in preparation. The company hasn't yet been incorporated, but are aimed at treating traumatic brain injury. And our co-founders are a group of, I like to call it an ensemble of experts. My expertise is in neurology and neuroscience. Dr. Butson is a biomedical engineer. Dr. Henderson is a neurosurgeon, and Dr. Baker is a neuroscientist and neurophysiologist. What is our technology? Our technology is central thalamic deep brain stimulation to improve chronically impaired cognitive function in patients with moderate to severe traumatic brain injury. What we are developing is a therapy that involves direct electrical stimulation of a central region in the human brain. This is the first subject through a pilot feasibility trial that we just completed. The target is in the central thalamus, and it involves the cells in the central thalamus and the fiber bundle that projects out of them, which is called the dorsal tegmental tract. How is this done? Well, it's basically a cardiac pacemaker. There's a pacemaking generator in the chest wall, an extension lead that runs up over the head, and the electrodes are placed inside the brain. Our technology focuses on developing models of the target, its projection structure, a electrical field model of activation of the target, and this is for both pre-surgical planning and post-surgical evaluation and adjustment of the therapy. The IP and the systems that we've developed cover single and multiple lead systems. They involve the use of specialized neuroimaging technologies, bioelectric field modeling, and modeling of the connectivity within the brain. They can be applied to any existing and future electrode designs. And we also have IP protection for second and third generation systems that will involve multi-electrode systems. And we've discovered in preclinical work details of the local geometry of this target that might be more effectively captured using systems that are not yet in commercial use. What problem are we solving? There are 5 to 7 million Americans who have chronic cognitive impairment following moderate to severe traumatic brain injury. In the United States and Europe, there are about 3 million or more TBIs, or traumatic brain injuries, every year. And moderate to severe TBI results in cognitive impairment sufficient to disrupt vocation, social reentry, and educational reentry. All of the 5 patients I'll show you in a minute who came into this trial had chronic impairments, unable to go back to school, unable to go back to work, ranging from 3 to 18 years after this injury. How did we go at this? Circa 7 years ago, our group was able to get one of the first 3 awards from the Obama Brain Initiative to do invasive human subject design work. This was a collaboration between Cornell, Stanford, Harvard, Cleveland Clinic, University of Utah. We used a Medtronic system and was supported by the NIH Brain Initiative. What did we do? We took in a group of patients to test safety and efficacy of this approach. The 5 patients went through a battery of tests, but we had a primary outcome measure called the Trail Making Test B. This is the gold standard for cognitive impairment used in almost every clinical trial. The NIH agreed to a success threshold of 10%, and on average, we got about a 30% improvement. The results, the cases demonstrate that there's a considerable residual capacity for functional recovery in this group of patients. As I said, we had people coming in 3 to 18 years after their initial injury, 23 to 60 years old, and they were only stimulated for 3 months during this time of the study. The patients have had these stimulators in for years at this point and have all maintained their gains. What is it we're trying to do? We want to basically take the next step and do a 20 to 50 patient study, develop our technology so that we can aim for an FDA indication. And we also look to build this company out, identify investors, and seek support for both the pilot clinical trial and the next phases of development of the additional directions for the technology. Our timeline is from today. We figure it'll take 2 to 3 years to get through the pilot, and then 5 to 7 years to get to a labeled indication. Our exits. We can become a standalone company producing first, second, and later generation products, or a target for acquisition by one of the 3 major device makers, all of which have approved systems. We have a prior experience of a prior Cornell Cleveland Clinic company aimed at pretty much the goals that we've already achieved, exiting to Boston Scientific. For those who are interested, Louise Sayrup is here, and she is our technology licensing officer. Thank you.
Hi there. You talked a little bit about the 5 patients in your study. Can you describe to us what they were able to do after they went through the process?
And I hesitated to do this, but if you look up 2019 New York Times and our study, you'll find a write-up of the first patient who had the 15% improvement, which looked like the least. But this was a woman who was 18 years out. She had just finished college, was in a car accident right after college, ended up in the ICU for weeks, slowly rehabilitated to the point where she was independent and functioned, but she couldn't really hold a job. And as she would say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm wrecked. I couldn't do anything. She couldn't go out at night and socialize. She was too tired, et cetera. First day we turned the stimulator on, we walked in and she was there with her family. And she said, you know, last night I was at a party till 10 o'clock at night. And her mom and dad were like, yeah, we haven't seen this in years. She, over COVID, figured out a degree program that she felt comfortable entering, enrolled on her own, and was doing well. So, you know, a lot of things. She stopped napping. She had very clear, measurable improvements on performative tests of cognition. But, you know, probably the most significant thing was she could start to read again and take pleasure out of reading and learning. And that's kind of what we're hearing.
How does it actually work? So do they turn it on and keep it on, or is it?
So you know, that's like the kind of question that'd be dangerous to ask in a time-limited audience exercise.
Does it take a battery?
Yeah, it has a battery. Some of the systems are rechargeable, depends on which one we would use. The way it works is we're pacing a structure in the brain that, for lots of interesting reasons, first off, geometric. This is a structure that has many-to-one connections to frontal cortex and parts of the brain that are important in sort of driving your cognitive function. It's also very vulnerable to injury because of its connectivity. It also turns out that evolution has chosen it to be sort of like the throttle on your mental energy when you have to push to do things. So effectively what we're doing is we're taking an area that's been denuded of its context and overdrive pacemaking it. Now there's more detail to that and it's really cool. I won't get into it, but that's the first order.
Is the intellectual property that you're protecting the software that runs it as to how you stimulate the part of the brain, or is it the hardware that you're like you described it as
all of the above?
All of it.
All of the above, and I've been patenting in this area since 1997. That's how we did
the Earth was just cooling.
When the Earth was just cooling, and David Thompson had just proven it, and Al Gore found the data. Yeah, but basically. And then we ran the first company out on the first sets of patents. We now have a whole suite of new patents that cover new devices, software, systems, and sort of can take this in any direction we want.
Thank you.